So this right here is the Samsung Galaxy S25FE. And this S25FE actually has a lighter body, it has a slimmer chassis, it has a bigger battery, slightly better performance, and even some improvements to the camera. And we've been using this phone for about 100 hours now, and what follows is my impressions of the new S25FE to find out if these new upgrades are worth it or not. Alright, stay tuned with me till the end. If you're watching me for the first time, I'm Ashad. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Now, one glance at the S25FE and you know that it's a Samsung phone. You get the familiar glass and metal sandwich design along with the 3 vertically aligned camera rings up top. But what I like is that Samsung hasn't cut any corners for the build quality itself, because front and back you get Corning Gorilla Glass Victus Plus protection, and you get the same armor aluminum, metal railing which was used in the S25 and the S25 Plus as well. But here's where things get interesting. The S25FE this year is thinner, lighter and more comfortable to use compared to last year's S24FE. So compared to the S24FE, which was 8mm in thickness, this is 7.4mm in thickness. And the S24FE actually weighed 215 grams, which is pretty, heavy. And with the S25FE, the weight has come down to 190 grams. Here's a fun fact, something that we checked out is that the S25FE is nearly similar in thickness to the S25 Plus, and it's also similar in weight to the S25 Plus. By the way, despite making the phone slimmer compared to the S24FE, this year with the S25FE, you actually do get a larger battery by 200 mAh. Basically, you get a 4900 mAh battery now. And for the first time in the FE series, you also do get Qi 2 wireless charging, which means that you will get 15 watt wireless charging speeds, which is similar as the S25, S25 Plus and the S25 Ultra. Because until last year with the S24FE, you didn't get Qi 2 charging, you got Qi charging only. Of course, the in-hand feel is fantastic with the S25FE. You also do get IP68 rating and of course USB Type-C Gen 3.2 as well, which is awesome. Now let's talk about the display on the S25FE. Now this is a 6.7-inch Full HD Plus Dynamic AMOLED 2X panel with 120Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 1900 nits. Now if that sounds familiar, then it is, because Samsung has basically reused the panel that it used for the Samsung Galaxy S24FE. But honestly, that's not necessarily a bad thing, primarily because you get HDR video playback both on Netflix and YouTube. The display is bright enough and legible enough outdoors when you view it under direct sunlight. And of course, this is also an 8-bit panel with typical Samsung goodness. Basically, you do get like rich and vibrant colors in the vivid mode and fairly decent calibration in the natural mode as well. But it's not like the display is exactly the same as the one used on the S24FE, because the bezels this year are about 26% slimmer compared to the S24FE. So yeah, it's definitely slimmer, but it's not entirely symmetrical and the chin is slightly bigger than the other 3 sides. Having said that, overall, if you look at it, the display itself is very impressive. It's a typical Samsung goodness, so you do get a very good panel on the S25FE. Now you also do get an optical in-display fingerprint scanner and it works absolutely fine. The haptics are tight enough and they're precisely tuned, and you do get a fair smattering of haptics, strewn around the UI itself, but they're not as tight as the more expensive flagships. Still workable. As for audio tuning, you do get Dolby Atmos tuned, stereo speaker setup, and they do sound loud, rich, and clean. Take a listen to it for yourself and let me know what you guys think. Now, if you look at the performance upgrade, basically with the S25FE, what you get Exynos 2400, which is like a slight bump over the Exynos 2400E that's inside the S24FE. It's a slightly higher prime core clock speed. By the way, you have 3 variants of the phone: 8128GB, 8256GB, and 8512GB. But the 128GB variant has UFS 3.1 storage, whereas the 256 and the 512GB variant have UFS 4.0 storage. Now, we ran some benchmarks in Geekbench 6 and in Antutu 10. You can see that the scores are very similar to what we got with most Exynos 2400 processors, and it's definitely better than the Exynos 2400E inside the S24FE, so that's slightly better, obviously. By the way, I specifically mentioned Antutu 10 because Antutu 11 is already out, so we have to do some backlog work for all the other products and double check how the scores are different now. So we are not using Antutu 11 yet, but here's the Antutu 11 score, just in case, so you can see the difference between the Antutu 10 score and the Antutu 11 score. Now, synthetic benchmarks aside, we of course do love some gaming on our phones, so we did play Genshin Impact for 30 minutes at highest graphics, and we were targeting 60 FPS. And the results were a very rock solid 57.9 FPS average, which is something we were really happy about. It's a big jump over the S24FE. And here's the kicker, the phone also didn't get hot. It was about 43 degrees only, so it didn't even breach that 45-degree mark that we are generally worried about in phones when we play Genshin Impact for 30 minutes. And thanks to the fact that the S25FE has the first ever liquid thermal interface material and a 13% larger vapor cooling chamber inside now compared to the S24FE. And this is very good again, primarily because you actually have a slimmer chassis now with a larger vapor cooling chamber. So engineering wise, Samsung's doing a good job here. So I'm also glad that Samsung's taking feedback about the performance issues and worries that we've highlighted before. And Exynos seems to be going in the right direction. Now the battery inside the phone is a 4900 mAh battery. Now obviously we haven't had time to test it, but we're expecting it to be good. And Samsung mentions that you can get 28 hours of continuous video playback with the phone. And like I mentioned, you do get 15-watt Qi2 charging now, so that's fantastic. And you also do get faster wired charging. So it's up from 25 watt to 45 watts now. Connectivity wise, you do get all the 5G bands that you'd need in India. You get support for Wi-Fi 6E, NFC and Bluetooth 5.4 as well. Now talking about the cameras, well, the S25FE has the same camera setup on the rear as the S24FE. So basically what you get is a 50 megapixel main camera with a 12 megapixel ultra wide and an 8 megapixel 3x telephoto lens. The upgrade is in the selfie camera, which has gone up from 10 MP to 12 MP now. Alright, now let's take a look at the camera samples. So the 50 megapixel primary camera captures a good amount of detail with no over sharpening whatsoever, both in daylight and in low light. In fact, the low light performance has been improved quite a bit. Colors are slightly on the punchier side, but I still like them. It's classic Samsung processing that we're talking about here. Now when you're shooting friends and family, the phone takes slightly warmer skin tones, no matter if you're looking at brown skin tones or dark skin tones, but it does have a pleasing look overall. The HDR processing is good too, and that's thanks to Samsung's Pro Visual Engine. It does a great job of lifting the shadows to bring out more details from the darker portions of the image. It doesn't overdo it to make the image look too dynamic or too HDR-y, and it doesn't look too flat either. The dynamics are very well tuned if you ask me. And the same goes for when you're shooting people against the light. It does a very good job of lighting up the face adequately and controlling the highlights in the background as well. Now when it comes to the portraits, this is where we see the most improvement. Thanks to the object-aware engine that Samsung is using, it's getting better and better every single edition. So you do get good semantic segmentation with natural looking background blur. The ultra wide angle camera tuning continues to be great. You get a decent amount of detail in both daylight and in low light. The 8 megapixel 3x telephoto camera also does take good enough shots, detailed shots in both daylight and in low light. And I absolutely love that selfie camera on the S25FE. The new improved selfies do look very good with a good amount of details and slightly punchier skin tones that do look good in almost all lighting conditions. In fact, with the selfie camera, you also get nightography now, which reduces the noise in photos by quite a bit. So yeah, the low light selfies do look good. And because of the upgraded selfie camera and the object-aware engine also improving over a period of time, the selfie portraits especially are pretty impressive. You do get great semantic segmentation and a natural looking background blur. And lastly, talking about the videos, the S25FE can record at 4K 60 FPS from both its primary and selfie cameras and 4K 30 FPS using the ultra wide angle camera. The video from all the shooters come out clean, and the stabilization was on point too, and you get a good amount of details as well. By the way, if you wish to, you can also shoot 8K videos, but more importantly, I still love that instant slow motion feature that lets you convert any regular 4K 60 FPS video into a slow motion video using AI. And finally, this is the first FE that can actually record HDR videos at 4K too, which also looks great, by the way. Alright, now let's talk about the software. And I've said this multiple times before, One UI is easily one of my favorite Android skins out there, possibly my top favorite Android skin out there, because of the customization options that are available, the really well done AI features too. And the One UI experience with the S25FE is the same as any other Samsung Galaxy S series flagship that, I've tested till date. And of course, you do get One UI 8 based on Android 16, and Samsung is also giving you 7 years of updates and 7 years of security updates too. Basically, OS updates and security updates. Now, obviously with One UI 8, there are a bunch of customization features that you can do. And if you add Good Lock to the mix, it just becomes even better. By the way, we did make a video about how to use Good Lock on your Samsung phone. And if you haven't watched that yet, it should pop up right now. Go check it out. But more importantly, the AI features are pretty damn cool. You get the generative edit feature, which is basically one of my favorite features since it lets you edit with just prompts. And it actually also does work really well. You get sketch to image. You get instant audio eraser, which is one of my favorite features, by the way. You get AI call assist. You get writing tools, you get live translate, you get note assist, and of course you do get Google's Gemini support. In fact, note that you can even use Circle to Search while you're playing games. Basically, it will show any strategy or relevant information that can help improve your gameplay if you use Circle to Search while playing the game. In fact, Circle to Search was first to come on a Samsung phone, if you remember. Guess which Samsung phone was that in the comments. And it's not just the AI features that Samsung is giving you with the S25FE. You do actually get Google's AI Pro subscription free for 6 months. Along with that, you do get 2 TB of free storage as well. So yeah, One UI 8 is one of the major reasons why a lot of people will be gravitating towards the S25FE. And here's a fun fact, the S25FE has One UI 8 with Android 16, but the S25, the S25 Plus are yet to get it. Of course, the beta is available, but yeah, I mean, you'll have to wait for the official one. So overall, if you look at it, this is the most refined version of an FE phone that Samsung has made yet. It doesn't try to be too flashy, but it quietly brings some meaningful upgrades, like I had mentioned. For example, the chassis is thinner now, the phone is lighter now, and yet you do get a larger battery, faster charging speeds too. You also do get slightly better performance. You get an improved selfie camera, and the selfie camera results itself, like I showed you, look pretty impressive. And most importantly, you get full One UI 8 based on Android 16 right out of the box, along with all of the AI features that you expect from a Samsung Galaxy flagship. By the way, all the sale details, prices, and offers are in the description below. Go check it out. Alright, that's it from me for this one. What other videos of the S25FE would you like to see? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.